Good morning. This is your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino, and this is Memorial Day Monday. Normally on holidays, I take the day off, spend time with the family, but because of the nature of these thunderstorms that are developing for this afternoon and evening, not necessarily severe, but let's face it, we have a lot of people outdoors, they're doing their barbecues, going to whatever location you might be going to. As we all know, today is a day of remembrance. It's not just the start of the unofficial start of summer, but also a day in which we are to remember those who gave it all via military, public service, whatnot. So I wanted to make sure I cover this to the best of my ability beyond just the text, but also do the video discussion as well. And we start off first with the observations. And I'm going to break down, of course, this is going to be a premium public video. So we're going to get a little technical here so that you understand what's going on here. The key story for today is the fact that our winds are coming from the southeast. Why is that important? Because this is transporting more of a stable air mass. And we'll take a look at the skew T in just a moment from Tropical Tidbits to show the difference and why this is important. So this southeasterly wind is transporting a more stable air mass. And we know it's stable because we're seeing areas of low clouds and fog developing on the south shore of Long Island. Look at the visibility starting to fall down to 6 miles now with that southeasterly wind. You can see out towards Block Island, we're down to a half a mile of visibility. Over towards southeast coast of Connecticut, we're seeing visibility down to about half a mile. We have a few showers from this morning's weaker showers and thunderstorms. Along the coast here, we have overcast cloud cover down to 3 miles in Wildwood. So why is this important? Well, the low clouds and the fog tells us that the atmosphere in these locations are stable. However, as we move more towards the Delaware River Valley, the atmosphere is becoming a little bit more unstable. Now, we still have that southeasterly wind, but it's not as much of an influence from that more stable air mass on the immediate coastal plain. So you still have the potential for some instability. We have plenty of visibility, some broken cloud cover, so that's slowing down the ability for instability to take place. And you can see on the radar we have showers of thunderstorms starting to develop and approach here from central Pennsylvania down through the southern Mid-Atlantic and heading towards our neck of the woods. So you can see the showers of thunderstorms starting to break out. So what is the potential for severe weather here in this scenario? Well, when we take a look at our skew T, and this is from Tropical Tidbits on their HRR, we're going to use the HRR a lot on here, mostly because of the ability to break this down on about 15-minute intervals. But the NAM is very similar, and I'll show the one difference between the NAM and the HRR, which is based on the ability for clearing and destabilization later. But first, this is the skew T on the immediate coast here on the Jersey Shore. And you see this signal right here? You see that? That makes all the difference in the potential on the coastal plain because this leads to a more stable air mass. You got this cap in place. So this environment that has evolved here means that yes, you can have elevated thunderstorms as the mid levels are certainly unstable, but that means that thunderstorms are going to be lifted above a higher surface, and this increases your potential more for heavy rainfall than it would for severe thunderstorms. A few caveats here: if you get enough mixing with one or two thunderstorms, you could get wind gusts that could exceed 55 miles per hour in a few rare cases. However, look at what we are developing here over eastern Pennsylvania, northwest of Philadelphia. And this is far different. This is a clearly unstable environment. You have the ability for the parcels to rise rapidly in the atmosphere. You have CAPE values pushing over 1,000 joules per kilogram. We're talking about 1,345 joules per kilogram. So certainly supportive for severe thunderstorms. We have the energy in place. We have plenty of moisture in the atmosphere. And we also have downburst CAPE about 548 joules per kilogram. So that's pretty impressive. No sin. So there's nothing to inhibit development of showers and thunderstorms. And we have some vertical wind shear. Now, when we take a look at the visible satellite picture, we don't see a lot of support for a lot of clearing in as far as plenty of sunshine to further destabilize the atmosphere. This is pretty much it, okay, as far as destabilization of the atmosphere that we can expect. And in terms of the vertical wind shear component, well, that pretty much comes down to the evolution of the jet streaks at various levels. This is at 250 millibars. Notice the southwesterly winds. Let's go down to 500 millibars, still southwesterly winds. Look where your divergence and diffluence is setting up more towards the St. Lawrence River Valley. That's also the case of 250 millibars. Now let's jump down to 850 millibars. Why am I showing you this? Well, first of all, the jet streak is stronger up here than it is down here. Yes, we have winds coming in from more from the south, so we have that directional speed shear, wind shear in place. Remember, also you have winds coming in from the southeast, so you have a cyclonic directional shear in place over eastern Pennsylvania because of this environment. Again, let's pull up the surface. Southeast, south-southeast, 850 millibars, more from the south-southwest, 500 millibars southwest. So you have a cyclonic circulation in the atmosphere that could certainly enhance lifting, but the strongest jet streak is up here, which means all your strongest lifting and all your jet components, your jet stream dynamics involved here, are more focused off to the north, more towards, let's say, northeastern New York and New England. So you don't have all the factors in place here for a dynamic severe threat, but you do have some signals here that if you get a thunderstorm set up just right with the cyclonic circulation, you can pull off a few isolated severe thunderstorms. So given that, and given the strong shortwave that is marching its way through the Ohio River Valley and heading towards our operations, our locations here, you see the strongest lifting here, all focus up towards the St. Lawrence River Valley. So your best dynamics are lifting up to the northeast, but you do have just enough to create some interesting setups here for the afternoon and evening hours. So what you want to do next is look at all the components. Well, we have plenty of moisture in place, and note here that our precipitable water values are well above 1.5 inches along the coast here. So why is that important? Well, severe or not, these thunderstorms are going to be capable of producing some pretty heavy downpours, possibly some localized flash flooding and urban flooding. Nothing that is widespread, but again, if you have any clogged drains around your location, around on your street, that could cause a problem. You know, if you have some things going on outside, maybe barbecues or whatnot, that's certainly going to have the potential put a damper on things. At the same time, when we take a look at our vertical wind shear, our bulk shear, I like using this to kind of get an idea of where the best dynamics are in terms of vertical wind shear. And really, it's all focused off to our west. We do see some support out here. So I can't rule out some shear influences here, barely anything on the coast. And then we take a look at our instability. So first we'll look at the lifted index. And as I was discussing, your best dynamics are all focused around the Delaware River Valley, over eastern Pennsylvania, extreme western New Jersey. Notice the rapid collapse. Now, remember, when you have a lifting index -3 or below, let's say like -5, for example, that supports the potential for enough energy in the atmosphere, or enough fuel to support severe thunderstorms because of the instability in the atmosphere from the surface on up to 500 millibars. But notice that collapses pretty quickly on the coast. There's that southeasterly wind influence transporting that more stable air mass and completely stable on Long Island, where we're seeing fog. So we have plenty of moisture. We have instability focused here. You have your best shear dynamics back here, but you have some influence here. So when I combine this all and I look at the Cape values where they're focusing on here, and I take a look at the low level dynamics, not all that impressive, but the mid level dynamics here, the mid level lapse rate is certainly focused over eastern Pennsylvania. This tells me most likely if you could break the cap, which we are doing over eastern Pennsylvania, it will support thunderstorms. A few thunderstorms will be severe. I'm not seeing a lot of support in the observations of tornadoes, but don't be surprised if the radar picks up a lot of turning cells, but not exactly observed tornadoes on the ground. So you'll see a tornado warning with a turning cell with some vertical wind shear showing a circulation, but it doesn't reach all the way down to the ground because of the other limitations going on in the atmosphere. And so that's showing up pretty nicely in our HRR guidance. Again, remember what I was saying about the 850 millibar jet. Look where the best focus, look where the strongest winds are here at 850 millibars. Not really all that impressive down here this afternoon. And in terms of Cape values, they're there to support thunderstorms, certainly, but not anything that's uniquely stands out as strong and severe. And of course, our precipitable water values are through the roof here, up to 2 inches being forecasted for this afternoon and evening. So this all lines up to me with the potential for thunderstorms that feature very, very heavy downpours, frequent lightning, because the more precipitable water you have, the more potential for a lot of friction and a lot of potential for a discharge and lightning. This also tells me there's good chance here for some downburst wind gusts, so a few thunderstorms could pick up severe levels because the downburst wind gusts exceed over 55 miles per hour. And certainly the potential here for, if you're going to see a tornado, a weak one, maybe F0, F1, something like that, it's going to be out here towards Allentown, Reading, those suburbs, the western suburbs of Philadelphia. The closer you are to the coast, the less likely you'll see that potential. In terms of the HR guidance, again, I like to break this down into 15-minute intervals, and you can see as we move on through the afternoon, here comes our waves of showers and thunderstorms. We're going to have a couple of waves moving through with breaks in between. So it's not going to be all day, all evening event, but when they do come through, you're going to hear it. And this evening, there's another line marching its way through with, again, a potential for a few cells producing severe thunderstorms. But I think this is primarily going to be a very heavy rain, strong wind type of event, not necessarily tornadoes. I expect some pretty vivid lightning with some of these cells, so certainly be prepared for that. And then it marches on through. And the NAM is very similar to that again for this afternoon. Now, the difference in the NAM in the HRR is that the NAM does not let the second line develop as much. And a lot of this is due to the NAM taking a lot of your forcing up here towards northern New York, and thus limiting the potential for the second line down towards us because of substance taking shape on that and the limitation of instability in the atmosphere. So that is primarily the difference between the HRR and the NAM, whether or not we get enough support. But the reason why I've been using the HRR is that when I go back to the water vapor satellite picture, I see this feature here. I think it will be strong enough to support that second wave like the HRR is showing, but we'll see as we move on through the afternoon. That is your premium public video discussion for this Memorial Day. I hope you have a wonderful day. And as always, stay safe out there.